And to introduce our next keynote, I'd like to introduce our Des Moines coordinator and program manager, our director of program development and innovation, Leslie Berckes. Leslie?
Thanks, Shannon. It's an honor for me to be able to introduce David Jahn and welcome him to our next keynote. David and I started within a few months of each other at our respective positions, me at Trees Forever, and then a few months later, David started as City Forester for City of Des Moines. And both of us learning the ropes in our new positions afforded us a great opportunity to be able to work together and start many things from scratch and learn from one another. So when David started, he and I, along with my colleagues at Trees Forever and other colleagues at City of Des Moines, worked together to start Tree Keepers, a volunteer engagement and empowerment program to teach volunteers to care for trees. So David and I worked alongside each other, helping to develop the curriculum, put together PowerPoint presentations, and co-taught the class together for many years. And together we helped volunteers like Eugene Miller learn how to use a 13-inch pruning saw, and we watched on with trepidation as Eugene managed that sharp saw. Worried about the tree, of course, but more about Eugene and making sure he was okay with that saw. And we watched volunteers like Don and Gail Stifel dig through near rock-hard soil along Thomas Beck Boulevard in Des Moines, and thinking that they were never ever going to come back to our tree planting because we tried to kill them by digging holes in this rock-hard soil. But all along the way, we watched as volunteers learn from one another and the value they gain when you're in the tough situation that builds camaraderie. And those who know me to know that I can sometimes be a little bit nervous Nelly, but David has always been a calming influence to help me talk through some of those things and help make sure that our volunteers feel very supported and willing to take on new things. So over the past year, David has been a tremendous supporter of a new program we're looking to launch called Growing Futures, where we will employ young people to care for trees throughout the city of Des Moines. And through this program, we're hoping to have the next generation of young people and the next generation of trees grow together side by side. I think it's going to be such a tremendous opportunity for young people to be outside, helping us grow more trees in the city of Des Moines, and helping make sure those young people have access to good paying jobs and maybe move into forestry and be tree huggers like all the Trees Forever folks down the line. So David, you've been such a great colleague and friend, and I really appreciate all the work we've done together, and looking forward to learning more about your topic today.
One housekeeping item as we get started. I'll ask my Des Moines contingent to stand up, please. Jonathan, Shane, Jason, and Francesca. These are all my supporters. Just stay up for a minute. So Jonathan's our Director of Public Works, and he's a green guy. He doesn't just think about curbs and manholes. Yeah, I'm thinking. And Shane's our project manager, managing our ash situation and our planting projects. Jason is our forestry section chief, sends our staff out on a daily basis to maintain our trees. And then Francesca is our AmeriCorps ally. She is at the forefront of helping Leslie get our Growing Futures program together. So that was taking care of business. Now my official start. Good morning, tree lovers! All right, here we go. So, I found myself in the role of amateur lexiconographer lately. I've been working on your lexicon, your vocabulary, and you're about to learn a new word. Some of you already have a preview just by looking at the agenda, so don't go peeking there again. But I need you to help me to introduce the word, if you would. So here's what I need you to do. I want you to practice this. I need a drum roll, please. On your tables, come on. All right, that's enough of that. I'll get to that in a second. Now, at the appropriate time, this is half the room, so this half of the room is going to go, ooh. Can you give me a ooh? And then on cue, this half of the room is going to go, perfect. You know how to do it. Then from the back of the room, some big dude with a really loud voice is going to jump up and say the brand new word as loud as he can, and that'll be followed by a heavenly choir of angels. Doesn't this sound great? All right, is everybody ready? I want a drum roll, please. Come on, loud as you can. Ooh. Oh. Now, big dude at the back, stand up and say as loud as you can.
Sustainabiliency.
He made it! Oh! Now the choir, amen. Now the choir of angels. All right, give yourselves a great big hand. Well done, team. Well done. So that's your brand new word. And it's made up of two other words, as you may have guessed. Sustainability, which means replenishable, or able to be used without being used entirely. And lucky for us who work with nature, it actually originates from the balance and continuation found in nature. So good on us. Resiliency, on the other hand, I'm connecting the two, but there's a little difference. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back from a natural disaster. So, what was the year of the flood here? 2008? I've got pictures from the internet of trees buried in 10 feet of water in downtown Cedar Rapids. Okay, that's a natural disaster. Also human-made disasters like air and water pollution. They come from different starting points. Sustainability, on the one hand, looks a lot like, what do you call this? An ever working machine, you know? Somebody give me a name for this machine.
Perpetual motion.
Perpetual motion machine, thank you. You want to do this? Great start there. And so the perpetual motion machine gets in motion and has a tendency to stay in motion, and then those of us around that try to perfect the parts so that we can keep the entirety in motion longer. Resiliency, on the other hand, is bouncing back from tragedy. This was the Eagle Ridge Fire in Oregon, 2017. I just happened to be going to a tree conference in that area last fall, and just months earlier was this tragic fire on the mountains of Eagle Ridge. It was a public media coup because people were so upset. It's like politics today. The more upset people are, the more news you got, right? So the news was making a big deal out of this because it was not caused by nature. It was caused by a 15-year-old youth playing with firecrackers. So there was some angst in the community. And being the farm boy I am from Ontario, Canada, I thought, boy, I see a fight shaping up here. I've got to get to this meeting. So I purposed to go there after studies one day from my conference. And I'm ready for the big free-for-all, getting ready for the fight. Well, the very first speaker to stand up was the lady from the Soil Service, and she said, I'm going to tell you 3 things. The first thing is, there have been fires here before. Oh. Second thing is, this area will heal. It will come back to life completely on its own over time. I'm thinking, where's the fight going? Number 3, there will be fires here again. Resiliency. Nature has the ability to bounce back in a way that we can't imagine or plan for. So an example, sustainabiliency, the tree. Starts from a seed, makes its loop around all the way to a mature tree, that produces fruit and keeps the cycle going. Whoop, what have I done? One of those. Resiliency, on the other hand, we don't know how the chainsaw cut was made. We don't know if that's what terminated the tree's life, or somebody just made a nice flush cut after a fire or a flood. The point is, whether the tree is regenerating from the root or a seed of another tree is finding place, that's resiliency, bouncing back. There's a master target for resiliency, a windswept shoreline somewhere. And over the years, it's accommodated itself to growing in a different way. We don't like to see it in a city, but this guy is super resilient. Pripyat, Russia, abandoned in 1986 after the Chernobyl nuclear accident. Still abandoned today, maybe abandoned for the next 1,000 years due to the radiation that still exists there. But look at what Mother Nature's doing. Resilient. So, when we look at the natural woodland and forest, and I know a lot of you deal with woodlands that are not in the urban center, is that a sustainable environment? I'm going to go ahead and populate this. and saying it's got plenty of air, water, space for roots to grow, natural food from the forest floor. Agreed? All right. Now, when we come to the urban forest, is it sustainable? How would you vote for air? Do trees in this setting get enough air? Yes? More yes than no? I'm giving it more yes than no. Water? More or less. Okay, I like that, Brad. Little hedging your bet. So I'm still yes, but I've got a no in there because I'm not sure if the sidewalk is tilted to the tree or away from the tree, because that 4.5-foot strip has certain limitations, not for air so much as for water. Does it have space for roots to grow? Now it's getting tricky. What do you say? So a lot of you are saying no. I'm voting no, but I'm still giving a yes, and I'll explain that as we go along. Actually, we were growing ginormous sycamore trees in the city of Pittsburgh when we last stopped in 3 by 3 foot openings in the sidewalk. That's sustainability. That's resiliency. When that big a tree can do that kind of growth in a small space, that's good for us. So there's still some space, and it's linear, but not as much as we'd like. And I'll just go ahead and put the vote in for you because there's no food dropping from trees there for the forest floor. All right. So we kind of limit ourselves in where we can plant our trees in the city. And I'm going to tell you that still my most favorite place to plant a tree in the city is along the street. And I'll tell you why. Look at the picture on the left and imagine with me that you've got a green canopy. And that green canopy resides over green grass. So I'm going to call that green on green. Will you accept that proposition? I'm looking at the canopy on the right side, still a green canopy, but now it's over a whole bunch of gray, sidewalks and impermeable pavement. I'm going to call this segment green over gray. Will you accept that premise? Okay. So here's my new mantra in life. Green over green keeps us clean. Trees and parks are great, right? They're still doing a good job for us. Here's the mantra coming up. You're going to take this to the bank, I just know it. Green over green keeps us clean. Green over gray saves the day. Yay! For all these reasons. All these benefits on the right side you don't get with the park tree. Stormwater retention as a for instance. So any rain falling in this area gets on the street, gets into the gutter, ends up in creeks, rivers, sometimes gets in combined sewer systems. Now you're spending money just to separate good water from bad water. Urban heat island effect. You guys know all this stuff, so I won't go into depth, but home energy savings for adjacent properties, traffic safety. Not only will cars not drive between the trees, but the point here is that wherever you've got tree canopy over a street, people subconsciously slow down. University Avenue near the Mercy Hospital in Des Moines had a hard time still working on convincing traffic and engineering who want some trees in the center median. Their difficulty is it's too close to uncontrolled intersections. What they don't know is that this guy, when I'm on the top of one hill looking down the river valley at the other side, it's automatic. I'm a guy. You see open space, you just want to fly. You put trees on the street, people slow down. That's traffic safety. Walkable community. Look at them walking, more people in the community, and that also gives you community safety and health benefits like taking particulate matter and exhaust from the cars, etc. So give us the mantra together. Shall we shout it together? Green over green keeps us clean. Green over gray saves the day. Are you buying it? All right. All right. My proposition today is that the tree is the ultimate model of sustainability. Why? Runs on solar energy. Recycles nutrients and water. And is highly adaptable to local conditions. That's sustainability. That's the definition of sustainability. But that's while those trees are sitting in front of City Hall here in Cedar Rapids. What about when the tree dies or leaves the site? Somebody help me out. how does a tree keep on giving after it's gone from the site? Okay, what are we doing with the wood? Sure, furniture, wooden pallets even. Yeah, that's a low use of wood, but still a second use of wood. So there are ways that a tree keeps on giving, right? All right, so if sustainabiliency, your brand new word, will lead us towards our theme for the day, which is connecting land and life, how are we doing in the state of Iowa? Well, good you should ask me that question, because in preparation for this symposium, we took a survey of Tree City USA communities. Those are communities that meet 4 requirements to become a Tree City USA with the Arbor Day Foundation, of which we are one. I think most people here are probably one. We took a survey, and at the end of the results of this survey, I'm going to get you in quadrants of the room just to give me some feedback how you would score the entire state of Iowa for sustainability. Fair enough? Here's our survey. Our community tree inventory. So I'm not going into the details. The good news is that 83% of communities surveyed or that responded to us have a tree inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and populate on the right when I think you've got a trajectory towards sustainability, okay, or resiliency. Have you had any major events? A whopping 61% said yes. I grew up near Ottawa, Canada, on a farm. We never had 61% of these calamities. You guys in Iowa are a tough breed, I got to tell you what. So then we asked, well, what kind? Emerald ash borer, too bad. Wind, different kinds, and floods. So all these things are affecting our urban canopy. What did you do to recover? 77% said they pruned storm damage. All of them said we removed storm damage, either trees or branches, and 92% said they replanted. I think they're pretty good on the resiliency trajectory there. So here's a trick question. If you planted replacement trees, did you plant a larger quantity than you lost? So how are the 43% speaking to resiliency? We all know that if you lost a tree with a trunk like this, with a canopy as big as this room, you're not getting that back with an 1.5 inch tree. So if you plant more trees, that's feeding into resiliency, how you're bouncing back from the loss of that tree. And sometimes that's just from age. Even as trees age, if all we're doing is putting a single tree back for the 32-inch oak that we lost to age or disaster, we're kind of behind the curve on that one. But besides planting more than you lost, you need to have good diversity. In this model, 37% maple. That's bad news. Not only is it bad because you got too much of one kind, it happens to be a kind that's the favorite target of the next insect pest that might come our way, Asian longhorn beetle. So 2 things lead to resiliency: plant more than you lose, and diverse species. My community debris management program, best described as a robust plan, 30%, not bad. 53% said not sure, and 17% trees are an afterthought. So I'm going to have to let you do your own scoring on this one, because we don't know if the 53% are shading up or down in this one. But we do have a success story to share. I'll be sharing some more success stories later because I invited people to tell me about their successes, the respondents to the survey. But right here in Cedar Rapids, one success story for them is they've taken this yard, so we're still talking about debris management, okay? They've taken this yard, and what they do, they line up all their stuff. They keep their wood chips long enough to turn it into compost, and ultimately into soil they can use for patching when they grind stumps and maybe for planting trees. They take their logs, store them in one yard, and then they move them to another yard where the public can come and drag out logs, or bring their equipment and do cutting and chopping and take home firewood. And so that the only thing that's ending up on Mount Trashmore, and if you're not familiar with that term, I looked it up online and I heard it from Todd Fagan's lips yesterday. That's what you call your landfill here, Mount Trashmore. The only thing going there is stumps, so that's kudos for them. So I say give Cedar Rapids a big hand for managing the debris. All right, the big thing on our radar these days is emerald ash borer. Do you have it? 50% already have made the discovery. Do you have a plan? You got an action plan for that thing. So here's the hooray part of this thing. That half of the group that said they don't yet have it already have a plan in place. They're probably already working the plan like we are proactively. We've only ever made the one discovery, but we continue to work proactively. But so you can get your scoring in gear, I got to bring in that little red flag. What about the 24%? Do you think you're not going to get it? Is there anyone in the entire state of Iowa who doesn't think that emerald ash borer is not going to sweep the entire state, take every single ash that's untreated? So now might be a good time to get that plan in place. We can't avoid this. Standing dead ash trees in a forest. Nor will we try. We're not going to go out and treat trees in a forest setting like this. We're going to let them die and drop on their own, become food for the forest floor. What you can't avoid is this. Beautiful picture on the left, Toledo, Ohio, 2006, lined with, on both sides with beautiful ash trees. A scan 3 years later, the right side photo, every single tree is dead. That city was extremely behind the curve on maintaining public safety and getting those trees out of harm's way. So that's what you want to avoid by having a plan. So, if any of the 700 plus communities in Iowa think they don't need a plan, you all have a message for them this morning. It comes in 4 parts. I'm going to read the caption on the left, ignorance is bliss, and as the other part pops up on the screen, you're going to shout it out. Got your speaking voices ready? Here we go. Ignorance is bliss. What? All right, now that your speaking voice is warmed up, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is bliss.
Until the residents of your community are mad at you for not making plans.
Ignorance is bliss.
Until a tree costs twice as much to remove because it's so dangerous.
Now the really hard one's going to be a long sentence. Get a big breath of air now. Ignorance is bliss.
Until your stormwater system becomes compromised in rainstorms because you don't have enough trees to soak up the rain.
Pretty good. Give yourselves a big hand. Y'all are doing great. So you can tell this is a little bit participatory here today. If you, in your community, or you know of a community that does not yet have an EAB management plan, now's the time to get it going. My community has a strategy for managing and keeping large mature trees. 39% yes. So here's the deal, why I would rate that 39% as being on a resiliency trajectory. It's what I told you before. If you got a big tree, no, it's actually a different point. If you have a big tree, think of it this way. That tree has already weathered how many storms in its lifetime? It's already weathered insects for sure. Possibly it's also combated some disease and won the battle. So by keeping those big trees intact longer, you're not only getting the environmental benefits, but they might provide the anchor when you're repopulating after a natural disaster. Okay? Who advocates for trees? I'm the only one. Thankfully, only 6%. My civic leaders are very interested. I hear that in this room. This is a room of focus people here. 39%. So how you're going to score this will depend on how you associate the other 55%. Resources in my community include sufficient budget, 63%, adequate personnel, 69%. So not great numbers, but I got to tell you, I've been in more than one municipality, county government in Florida, been in the city of Pittsburgh, now in the city of Des Moines. This is common. None of us have enough money or resources to do all that needs to be done in the urban canopy. So take that for what it is. It's where we're at. Does the 38% of unreceptive media scare you? It shouldn't, because that's not a problem. Instead of a problem, it's an opportunity. Somebody write an article to the local newspaper or a community association bulletin call the radio or TV and get them to cover a tree planting event, make that turn around. And then we had other captions. Some wrote in that volunteers plus city staff and equipment get work done. We're attempting to attract more volunteers. Local and state forestry employees help us out. Partner agencies such as Trees Forever. So those were the other categories. So I'm going to give you a few success stories as we kind of round out the survey here. I gave them a chance to do a little bragging on their communities, okay? So, is anybody here from Waverly today? Instead of looking for hands, just somebody say woohoo. Woo. No, somebody from Waverly say woohoo. All right, Waverly. Middle schoolers planted 56 saplings to replace EAB affected trees. Marion, great success story. There you go. Woo. All right, so a brand new City Forestry Division in 2016, 2 full-time certified arborists. I'm going to take you all the way down to the bottom. The most important comment there for me, supportive council and mayor. Okay, that's really important. And I love the logo on the truck. The guy's way up a tree and it says, reach higher. There's very aspirational thoughts, this Forestry Division. So kudos to Marion. North Liberty, I know North Liberty, where's the woohoo? Yeah, there you go. They normally only plant 25 to 30 trees a year, but this year they planted 125. You can see them stretching out on the bottom and the side of the Public Works compound to kind of provide a nice landscape screen. So good job, North Liberty. Washington, City of Flowers and Trees. Any woohoos? All right, great relationship between city staff and the committee addressing EAB. That's important. Hampton, spent a lot of volunteer hours. Anybody here from Hampton? Didn't hear the woohoo. Dysart, anybody here? All right, now, this is really cool. They've planted almost double the number of trees destroyed following a derecho windstorm. So good on Dysart. And Clarksville, for 3 different natural catastrophes, flooding, winds, and tornado, in all 3 cases they planted more trees than they lost. So give our reporters some kudos here this morning, will you? All right, it's time for you. We're not going to take a long time on this. I'll take a vote from here and a vote from there and a vote from there. You're going to give a letter score. It could be an A, could be a B+, whatever you think. And so you're just going to stand and shout out your grade and just give me a half or a full sentence of why you're grading this. So I'm going to start on the left. So somebody towards the rear maybe stand up or give me a show of hands so I know who you are. I need a scorekeeper. Come on, somebody's going to give a letter grade. All right, you're talking, so you're it. Stand up, Mr. Plaid Shirt. B+ because?
We're doing good, but we could be better.
Fabulous. Okay, thank you very much, sir. All right, way over on this side. Who's going to be our grader over here? Don't make me look at you, Shane. Don't make me look.
C+.
All right, we got a B+. Stand up.
C+.
C+ because?
Average but trying.
Average but trying. That's what my wife says about me. I'm trying. Thank you very much. So now from the center group, someone towards the back here. Come on. Come on. Who's going to score for us? Yes, sir. Oh, it's the big guy, loud voice, the super word guy. Okay, so it's the guy beside the big guy with the super voice. Stand up and give us a letter grade.
I'm going to give it a C. I give it a C because it can be dangerous to think that you're succeeding further than you are, so that you stop pushing yourself.
Fabulous. Thank you, each one of you. So we're all scoring differently, and so the point of the exercise actually wasn't to score them. It was to score you. What does your community look like in relation to the questions in that community survey? How would you score yourself? All right, going to shift gears here a little bit. Start talking about some of the things that we're doing, that we think we're doing right in Des Moines. In 2009, our city council passed the City Tree Replacement Fund. What usually holds people back from planting trees is a lack of dedicated funding. So we didn't have it before this, and we created this fund. So the picture on the left shows a construction, just a generic construction photo. This does not apply for development. They usually plant more trees than they take out anyway, but for any city development project, if trees are lost, money goes into the fund, and they come back out the other end as newly planted trees. Tiny trees. We're attaining sustainability through a tiny trees program. 2 years ago, we gave away 5,000 trees for people's private yards. In the last year, we gave away 7,500 trees, and we call tiny trees the next big thing. Something else we do, and we do well, is partner with a nonprofit. In our case, it's Trees Forever. We all understand the business concept. Yeah, I can do something good on my own, so can they. But when you get together, it's not just twice the good, it's like an amplified success, exponential win. And that's striving towards sustainability. Whoop. So what have we been doing together? Well, from 92 to 2017, we've planted over 9,500 trees, over 1,400 seedlings, over 6,300 volunteer hours, netting how many? 6,300 volunteers, netting over 36,000 volunteer hours. And what does that net us as a city? A whopping $2.3 million in tree and volunteer services. I did the math, not them. So good on them. Good on us together. We co-teach the Treekeeper Volunteer Program. This is our manual cover and one of the lesson sheets. We've got over 170 trained volunteers on the ground in Des Moines now, ready to respond to planting and other types of projects. Here's a large-scale winter pruning project, and you would not believe the delight when somebody learns a three-point cut. So for anybody in the room who hasn't made a three-point cut yet, let me go ahead and explain so you don't damage your tree at home. You make your first cut from the bottom 1/3 of the way up. Then you move your saw out from that and you make a straight cut down, but you realize the weight of the branch begins to peel the bark, but it can only peel to here. That way when you make your third and final cut, you haven't peeled bark all the way down the tree trunk. So we do large and small projects for planting and pruning. And we're excited to announce or co-announce with Trees Forever today that we're investing in this Growing Futures partnership. And this is leaning also towards sustainability. And what's it going to do? Well, one of the goals is to build more beautiful, greener communities and neighborhoods by planting trees, obviously. But the second is to grow leaders by employing and training young people. And the target audience for that is actually, I don't know what term we're using, disadvantaged or from more difficult circumstances, trying to give them a boost in life so that overall we're also putting trees back in their communities. That's what the word I'm looking for, underserved communities. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach, and how are they going to go about it? 10 weeks full of action. They're going to do planting, watering, growing the urban forest in general. But that's what they give back to the community. What does the program give back to them? Resume building, financial literacy, job shadowing, public speaking skills, tree ID, conflict resolution, and first aid training. What a win-win for these youngsters. And then the last thing we're doing in Des Moines, we're at the front line of creating our first ever urban forest master plan. Those smaller bubbles are the big strokes. We've already worked on this lineup of topic matter between myself and some ISU forestry students. And then we're going to be adding these other topics and adding or subtracting as we go along. So we got a lot of things happening there. So, sustainability. Can't have one without the other. We are connecting land and life, and we are striving towards a circular economy with trees and youth. So on the way out of here, I'm going to ask you, do you know where you're going? And the story goes along with it is this. Some scouts are out orienteering. They've only got two things for orienteering. One's a compass, one's a map. And they're all saying, where are we? So one checks the map out. He says, see that mountain over there? According to the map, we're standing on that mountain. see, where you're at and where you want to be are seldom in the same place. You're making plans today from where you're at to get where you want to be. When you get there, you're going to make new plans. Because as humans, our tendency is to want to grow and experience and make things better for ourselves. Every single topic I've had in this presentation is populating the screen. I'm going to call those big things. So I want to know, what big thing on there do you need to do in your community? And it may be a big thing that you've actually been fomenting on for some time that's not represented there. But what big thing that do you need to do to advance the cause of trees in your community? What big thing do you need to do to elevate trees as a natural resource worthy of protection, worthy of investment, worthy of time, worthy of the honor and respect due to the largest plant on the face of the earth? Whatever it is you need to do, get to work, and I wish you well. Thank you for your attention.